A woman named Sarah Cantankerous walks into Judge Caprio's attorney's adversa citation for obstructing traffic. It's a routine allegation that usually after effects in a simple fine. But as adjudicator Caprio begins asking questions, he discovers this isn't a accepted case at all. This woman spends her canicule extenuative the lives of pregnant women and babies at risk. She works with mothers who accept boilerplate else to turn. Infants who allegation immediate intervention, families on the bend of crisis. And on the day she got cited, she was hasty amid emergency calls, desperately attractive for acknowledged parking, trying to admonition addition who couldn't wait. A back adjudicator Caprio reviews the citation and finds there's no photo evidence, no proof, aloof an officer's word adjoin hers. He realizes something important. Sometimes the arrangement gets it wrong, and sometimes the bodies who serve others best deserve the account of the doubt. What happens abutting includes one of Judge Emergency Alarm for abundant teen Caprio's funniest attorney's moments and a adjournment that reminds anybody why the bodies who admonition the vulnerable deserve our support, not citations. Hit subscribe because this case proves why amusing workers are heroes, and why Judge Caprio understands that justice means acquainted, who absolutely serves the community. Thursday afternoon, 3:15 p.m., Providence Municipal Court. The Bayeff calls Sarah Cantankerous, obstructing traffic Benefit Street. A woman in her late 30s approaches the podium. She's wearing professional accoutrements but looks tired. The kind of burnout that comes from caring acutely and alive too hard. She carries a beat-covering bag over her shoulder. Adjudicator Caprio looks up with his warm smile. "Acceptable afternoon, Miss Cross." "Good afternoon, Your Honor." "Thank you for seeing me." Adjudicator Caprio reviews the citation. "Miss Cross, you're cited for obstructing cartage on Account Street. The administrator addendum your agent was blocking allotment of a lane. Can you acquaint me what happened?" Sarah takes a breath, clearly balked by the situation but trying to break professional. "Your Honor, I'm a amusing artisan with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. I work specifically with accident-abundant women and newborns." Adjudicator Caprio's expression immediately becomes added interested. "That's important work." "Thank you, Your Honor. On the day I accustomed this citation, I was responding to a desperate search for parking emergency alarm about an abundant teenager who'd absent assorted prenatal appointments and wasn't answering her phone. I bear to do a wellness check, and you were accepting agitation, finding parking." "Your Honor, Account Street doesn't accept abundant artery parking, and what's there was full." I circled the block 3 times. Finally, I begin a spot that I believed was legal. I pulled in carefully, fabricated abiding I wasn't blocking a hydrant or a driveway, and rushed to the address. Adjudicator Caprio nods, compassionate the accountability of emergency response. "How continued were you parked there?" "Maybe 20 minutes, Your Honor." Aloof continued abundant to accomplish abiding the young woman was okay, that the babyish was okay, and to agenda her next appointment. "And aback you came back, I had a admission on my windshield." The officer was still there. I approved to explain I was on an emergency call, but he said I was blocking cartage breeze, and the commendation stood. Adjudicator Caprio reviews his computer screen, studying the details. "Miss Cross, I'm attractive at the no photo affirmation found citation report. There's no photograph attached. Usually for obstructing traffic, there's photo affirmation showing how the agent was positioned." Sarah leans advanced slightly. "Your Honor, I asked the administrator why he was commendation me. He assicular to a assurance I candidly didn't see because I was so focused on Your Honor. I accept I was accomplishing the best I could in an emergency situation. I wasn't blocking a lane. I was pulled to the ancillary as far as possible. If I was technically in violation, it wasn't intentional or reckless." Adjudicator Caprio asks a catechism that reveals his deeper interest in this case. "Miss Cross, tell me about your work. What absolutely do you do with that accident-abundant women and babies?" Sarah's absolute address changes. This is acutely her passion. "Your Honor, I assignment with mothers who are homeless, dealing with addiction, adverse domestic violence, or who accept medical complications. Many of them accept no abutment system, no family, no resources. I admonition them access prenatal care, affix them with housing, get them into analysis if needed, and accomplish abiding. Their babies are safe aback they're born. That sounds emotionally difficult. It is, Your Honor, but it's additionally the best meaningful work I've any time done. Every babyish born healthy to a mother I've helped. That's a victory. Every adolescent woman who gets back on her feet. That's why I do this. Judge Caprio's account for this woman is evident. How continued except you've been Sarah reveals her life-saving work doing this work? 12 years, Your Honor. And how abounding women and babies would you estimate you've helped in that time? Sarah considers. Directly. I've apparently formed with about 60 mothers and their babies. Some of them I still analysis in on years later. The attorneys is silent, arresting the significance of that number. 60 lives changed. 60 babies accustomed to chance. Subscribe to Adjudicator Stories if you believe amusing workers deserve recognition, not citations. Judge Caprio allotment his absorption to the commendation details. Miss Cross, let me go back to this photo issue. The commendation says you were obstructing traffic, but there's no photographic affirmation in the system. That's abnormal for this blazon of violation. Your Honor, the administrator told me he was commendation me and absolved away. I don't apperceive if he took photos afterwards or not. Adjudicator Caprio turns to the prosecutor. Counselor, do we accept any photo affirmation for this citation? The Judge Caprio's hilarious dismissal prosecutor checks his file. Your Honor, I don't see any photos in the case file, just the officer's accounting report. And does the address specify absolutely how Miss Cross's agent was obstructing traffic? The prosecutor reads from the report. It says, vehicle anchored in address that narrowed Cartage Lane, created potential hazard, but no specific abstracts or detailed description. Adjudicator Caprio's expression suggests he's not satisfied with this ambiguous language. Potential hazard. That's appealing abstract without evidence. He looks at Sarah. Miss Cross, did any added drivers complain? Was there absolutely bottleneck because of where you parked? Your Honor, I came aback to my car 20 account later. Traffic was abounding normally. There were no added cars chock-full or delayed. If I'd caused absolute obstruction, I anticipate there would accept been added affirmation of it. Judge Caprio nods slowly. That's a reasonable point. He reviews the citation one added time. Afresh looks up with a slight smile forming. Ms. Cross, this commendation was issued by Officer Martinez. Do you bethink interacting with him? I do, Your Honor. I approve to explain I was the amusing artisan on an emergency call. He said it didn't matter that parking regulations administer to everyone, which is technically true. Judge Caprio acknowledges, but ambience affairs and affirmation matters more. He looks at the prosecutor again. Retired assistant testifies about hero's counselor. Afterwards, photographic evidence, afterwards measurements, without any affidavit of absolute traffic obstruction. How do we prove this violation occurred as described? The prosecutor acutely sees breadth this is going. Your Honor, we accept the officer's report and testimony. Do we accept the officer actuality to testify? No, Your Honor. He's not present. Adjudicator Caprio's smile grows slightly. So, we accept a written report with ambiguous language. No photos, no measurements, no administrator present to testify, and an actor who works in emergency amusing casework and was responding to a wellness alarm for a pregnant teenager. He pauses for effect. Counselor, I'm disturbing to see how we meet the accountability of affidavit here. The prosecutor concedes gracefully. Your Honor, accustomed the abridgment of evidence, the accompaniment won't argue a dismissal. Sarah's face shows alert hope. She's been through this arrangement afore and knows not to bless until it's official. Adjudicator Caprio addresses her directly. Ms. Cross, I'm activity to abolish this citation. There's artlessly not enough evidence to abutment the charge. Sarah's abatement is immediate. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much. But before you go, Adjudicator Caprio continues with a arch glint in his eye. You mentioned you approved to explain to Officer Martinez that you were on a teen mom shares her story emergency call. Did he seem understanding? Not particularly, Your Honor. He was very by the book. Would you like to accommodate him to perhaps discuss parking options in that breadth for future emergencies? Sarah actioned nervously, not abiding if this is a austere question. I'm not abiding. That's necessary, Your Honor. Adjudicator Caprio delivers the punchline with absolute comedic timing. Well, if you appear aback actuality afresh with another citation, you'll absolutely meet him. But abutting time, I ability not dismiss it. The attorneys erupts in laughter. Sarah laughs too. Abatement bond with amusement. So, my advice, Ms. Cantankerous, is to really attending for that acknowledged parking spot, even in emergencies. Because if we see each added afresh beneath these circumstances, Administrator Martinez and I will both be a lot beneath understanding. More amusement fills the courtroom. It's a moment of applesauce that doesn't diminish the calmness of Sarah's work, but acknowledges the applesauce of citing someone whose extenuative lives. As the laughter subsides, Adjudicator Caprio's expression becomes added austere and respectful. Miss Cross, before you leave, I appetite to say something. Sarah stands at the podium attentive. You mentioned you've helped about 60 mothers and babies over 12 years. That's 60 lives unimpacted by your work. 60 babies who got a convalescent start. 60 mothers who had addition in their corner when they had no one else. Sarah's eyes glisten. It's bright. She doesn't generally accept acceptance for this work. Adjudicator Caprio continues, social workers like you are the unsung heroes of our communities. You accord with crisis situations best bodies never see. You go into homes, into neighborhoods. Courtroom honors accustomed hero into affairs that abounding would find overwhelming. And you do it because you care about the best accessible amid us. Thank you, Your Honor. That agency a lot. I appetite anybody in this attorney's to understand what Ms. Cantankerous does. She doesn't assignment with accessible cases. She works with abundant teenagers who accept no support, with mothers disturbing with addiction who are atrocious to get clean for their babies, with women fleeing domestic abandon who allegation to rebuild their absolute lives. He addresses the gallery. How abounding of us could do that work? How abounding of us accept the emotional strength to affliction that acutely day after day. Alive that not every adventure has a happy ending. An earlier woman in the courtroom arcade raises her hand. Judge Caprio notices. Yes, ma'am. The woman stands. Your Honor, I'm a retired nurse. I formed in neonatal accelerated affliction for 30 years, and I can acquaint you social workers like Miss Cantankerous fabricated the difference amid babies advancing and babies failing. They affiliated mothers to assets we couldn't provide. They followed up a back we couldn't. They were the arch amid medical affliction and real life. She looks at Sarah. Thank you for what you do. It affairs added than you probably realize. Sarah wipes her eyes. Thank you. That's very kind. Another actuality stands. An adolescent woman, maybe in her 20s. Your Honor, may I speak? Adjudicator Caprio nods. Please. I don't apperceive Miss Cantankerous personally, but I was a boyhood mom. I had an amusing worker who sounds absolutely like her. She helped me get housing, helped me accomplishment school, helped me become the mother I capital to be. My babe is 8 now and thriving, and none of that would accept happened without a amusing artisan who cared. The young woman's articulation strengthens. So, when I apprehend Miss Cantankerous got a parking ticket while aggravating to analysis on a pregnant teenager, it makes me angry because I apperceive what happens when teenagers like I was don't accept someone checking on them. It's not good. Miss Cross was apparently extenuative a activity that day. The attorneys applaud spontaneously. Sarah is above-board errant now, overwhelmed by the abrupt support. Judge Caprio lets the moment breathe, then speaks gently. Miss Cross, I think you aloof heard what your assignment really means. Not from me, not from the system, but from the bodies whose lives are touched by what you do. Your Honor, I don't apperceive what to say. You don't have to say anything. Aloof accumulate accomplishing what you're doing. Accumulate assuming up for those mothers and babies. Accumulate actuality that person who cares aback no one abroad does. Don't balloon to subscribe to judge stories. For moments aback accustomed heroes get the acceptance they deserve. As Sarah prepares to leave, Adjudicator Caprio adds one added thought. Miss Cross, you said you assignment with about 60 families over 12 years. That's Bristol's families a year on average. Do you accumulate in touch with them afterwards your official assignment is done? Sarah nods. Abounding of them, yes, Your Honor. Some of my above clients send me photos of their kids starting school. Some ability out aback they need advice. I got a Christmas agenda after most year from a mother I formed with 7 years ago. Her babe is in Aboriginal brand now and doing beautifully. So, your pulse extends far above the immediate crisis. You're building relationships that last. I try to, Your Honor, because these mothers' allegation to no addition believes in them. Someone sees their potential. Addition knows they can be acceptable parents alike. Aback their circumstances are difficult. Judge Caprio reflects on this. Ms. Cross, I see a lot of bodies in this courtroom. Some accept fabricated mistakes. Some accept been victims of circumstances. Some are dealing with systems that don't always understand their situations. And I try to see anniversary actuality as an alone with a story. But you, Miss Cross, you do that every distinct day with the hardest cases. You see abeyant breadth, others see problems. You see families where others see statistics. That's extraordinary. Sarah's articulation is soft. Your Honor, I aloof do my job. No, you do more than a job. A job is article you do for a paycheck. What you do is a calling. There's a difference. He delivers his final cardinal formally. The citation for obstructing cartage is dismissed due to bereft evidence. Miss Cross, you're chargeless to go. And please try to acquisition acknowledged parking next time. But if you don't, and you end up back here, achievement, it's because you were saving addition activity. And I'll remember that. Sarah smiles through tears. Thank you, Your Honor. I acknowledge your understanding added than you know. As she turns to leave, several bodies from the gallery access her. The retired nurse hugs her. The adolescent mother acknowledgement her again. Others action words of encouragement and support. Adjudicator Caprio watches this unfold. Afresh addresses the remaining courtroom. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what a hero looks like. Not addition in a cape or uniform. Someone who shows up every day for people who allegation help. Addition who doesn't accord up on mothers and babies, even aback their situations, seem impossible. Ms. Cantankerous mentioned she's helped 60 families. Let me put that in perspective. 60 babies built in healthier. 60 mothers given support and hope. 60 families that might not accept fabricated it afterwards intervention. The ripple after effect of that assignment touches hundreds of lives. Grandparents, siblings, continued family, communities. So aback we allocution about who deserves support from our amends system, people like Ms. Cantankerous are at the top of that list. They accord aggregate to help others. The atomic we can do is accord them the account of the agnosticism aback they're trying to do their jobs. Afterwards, court adjourns. The retired assistant approaches Judge Caprio. Your Honor, what you said about Ms. Cross absolutely resonated. We don't honor social workers abundant in this society. Judge Caprio nods. They assignment in the shadows, ambidextrous with crisis, afterwards crisis, and rarely get recognition. Today felt important. Not aloof absolution a citation, but acknowledging what she does. The adolescent mother who battened that was powerful. It was because she represented all the lives Ms. Cantankerous has touched. 60 families we apperceive about. How many added we don't apperceive about? How many mothers saw Miss Cross's affliction and decided to ask for admonition who ability not have otherwise? The assistant smiles. You know, Your Honor, you're a bit of a social artisan yourself. You see people's circumstances. You appearance compassion. You understand context. Adjudicator Caprio. considers this. I try. But what Ms. Cross does activity into difficult situations, architecture assurance, with vulnerable bodies that requires courage, I acutely respect. Where are you watching from? Comment your burgle if you apperceive a amusing worker who deserves recognition. Subscribe to Judge Stories appropriate now for added moments when accustomed heroes get accustomed and when a men's agency compassionate who truly serves the community. Sarah Cross walked into cloister adverse accommodation and left with a dismissal, tears of gratitude, and a attorney's abounding of people acknowledging her life-saving work. Adjudicator Frank Caprio accepted once again that a men's isn't aloof about following rules. It's about recognizing context, adulatory service, and understanding that the bodies who help others best deserve support, not citations. This is what happens aback a adjudicator sees beyond the commendation to the person. When laughter mixes with a count in a back 60 saved lives, amount added, then 1 parking violation. The assignment is simple. The people who serve others deserve our support. And sometimes amends means recognizing heroes aback they're standing right in advanced of us.